shake or slap a person who has fainted to attempt to make him or her regain consciousness.
Assalamu alaikum azizi mtazamaji popote ulipo, na karibu kwenye taarifa zetu za TV47 matukio moja kwa moja kutoka chuo hicho cha mafunzo ya bima huko upande wa South Sea hapa jijini Nairobi, ambapo tumeingia siku ya pili ya kuwasaili wale ambao watajaza zile nafasi 6 katika tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka ya Iebc, wale makamishna mtazamaji. Kumbuka hili jopo la mchujo linaongozwa na Daktari Nelson Makanda. Tayari mtazamaji, tukiwa tumeingia siku ya pili ya kuwasaili hawa makamishna, alikuwa hivi karibuni akiwa ni Alamita Guyo Jatani. Basi dakika chache tu kutoka hapa tutakuwa tukirejea katika chuo hicho. Aidha mtazamaji, pia tunatupia jicho taarifa nyingine ambazo zinazidi kuchipika kwenye kaunti zetu, zikiwemo mtazamaji, jopo la uteuzi wa tume ya Iebc inaendelea na usaili wa wanaowania nyadhifa za makamishna wa Iebc. Aidha mtazamaji, kwa upande mwingine, Rais William Ruto anatarajiwa kuzindua mpango wa shirika plan unaendelea kuwajumuisha wakimbizi katika jamii zinazowakaribisha. Mpango huo unatarajiwa kuzinduliwa chini ya idara ya uhamiaji katika wizara ya usalama. Aidha mtazamaji, hii leo mahakama inatarajiwa kusikiza kesi iliyowasilishwa na jaji mkuu Martha Koome pamoja na majaji wengine 4 wa mahakama ya upeo ya kupinga kuondolewa kwao kutoka afisini. Kumbuka mtazamaji, ile kesi iliyowasilishwa na Nelson Havi. Aidha mtazamaji, tuangazie taarifa nyingine. Mlinda lango wa klabu ya Kakamega Homeboys na timu ya taifa Harambee Stars Patrick Matasi amepigwa marufuku ya kucheza kwa miezi 3 na shirikisho la soka humu nchini FKF. Hii ni baada yake kutuhumiwa kuhusika katika kashfa za upangaji matokeo ya mechi katika video iliyozagaa mitandaoni jana Alhamisi. Tony Kwalanda na Duncan Mutua wanazamia swala hili na watakuwa wakituletea taarifa hii kwa ukamilifu wake. Aidha mtazamaji, tutakuwa tukiangazia taarifa nyingine kuhusiana na Wizara ya Afya inatarajiwa kuzindua maabara tambe ambayo zitakazoelekea kaunti ya Wajir kukabiliana na mchamko au mkurupuko ugonjwa wa kala-zaa ambao umesababisha vifo vya watu 20 kufikia sasa. Mtazamaji, tutakuwa tukiungana pia na mwanahabari wetu kutoka huu upande wa Wajir tupashe zaidi kuhusiana na uzinduzi wa maabara hii ambayo inatarajiwa kukabiliana na ugonjwa wa kala-zaa ambao umechukua maisha ya watu 20 kufikia sasa. Na kama ilivyo ada na desturi ya kila siku ya TV47 matukio, pia tunaanza kupata wasia kupitia methali hii.
Methali ya leo: jamaa yenye mabishano hula ugali mbichi.
Maana ya nje: wapiganao wakati wa mapishi hushindwa kufahamu chakula kilichoiva, hivyo hula kikiwa kibichi.
Maana ya ndani ya methali hii ni kwamba wagombanao hawanyokewi na mambo.
Matumizi: hurejelea watu waliokosa kufanikiwa kutokana na ugomvi kati yao.
Na mtazamaji, unatupata mbashara kupitia mitandao yetu yote ya kijamii TV47, YouTube, Facebook na pia X. Jina langu ni Ruga Ival. Hujambo na karibu. Shughuli ya usaili wa makamishna wa tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka Iebc inaingia siku yake ya pili hii leo. Hadi sasa mtazamaji, 2 kati ya walioorodheshwa kuwania nafasi hizo wamefanyia usaili siku ya leo mbele ya jopo la Iebc. Kwa jumla watu wapatao 1500 333 waliwasilisha maombi ya kutaka kuwa makamishna wa Iebc, lakini ni 105 pekee walioteuliwa kuhojiwa. Tusikize mahojiano yaliyoendelezwa hapo awali. Na mtazamaji, turejelee taarifa hii. Shughuli ya usaili wa makamishna wa Tume Huru ya Uchaguzi na Mipaka Iebc inaingia siku yake ya pili hii leo. Hadi sasa 2 kati ya walioorodheshwa kuwania nafasi hizo wamefanywa usaili. Leo takribani watu 6 watahojiwa mbele ya jopo la Iebc. Kwa jumla watu wapatao 1333 waliwasilisha maombi ya kutaka kuwa makamishna wa Iebc, lakini mtazamaji, ni 105 pekee walioteuliwa kuhojiwa.
Na shukrani sana Ruga Ival kwenye kaunti ya Taita Taveta. Leo nakutana na baadhi ya vijana tuzungumze kuhusiana na swala hili nzima la mchakato wa kuwatafuta ambao ni makamishna wa Iebc, na bila kuchukua muda basi nitakuwa naungana nao hapa waweze kunieleza. Pengine kaka, karibu, tupatie maoni yako. Leo ni siku ya pili ya kuwatafuta wale makamishna baada ya shughuli nzima ya kuwatafuta wale ambaye ni wenyekiti kukamilika. Maoni yako ni gani kuhusiana na shughuli nzima? Unaona vipi mchakato huu unaendeleaje, na una imani ya kwamba tutapata wale ambao watakuwa na uwezo wa kuendesha shughuli nzima ya uchaguzi?
Kwanza kabisa, kwa majina yangu rasmi ni Mshirafu Joseph Nyambu. Mimi ni kiongozi wa Taita Taveta, na leo hii tumeweza kukutana mahali hapa kujadili swala la hawa commissioners ama hawa viongozi ambao wanaotafutwa wa kuendesha mchakato mzima wa Iebc. Lakini process inaendelea vizuri, lakini cha kushangaza ni kwamba katika ile shortlisting ama wale pia wanakuwa interviewed, hatujaona kijana ambaye ni 18 to 35 years, hatujaona majina yao. Mimi kusema ukweli, ndugu yangu, ni kwamba I have friends in the Coast region ambao niliweza kuwasiliana nao mapema, na wameniambia kwamba waliweza kuomba kazi hizi za Iebc, not kama chairperson but kama commissioners. Na kuna mmoja wao ambaye anatoka Taita Taveta hapa, mwingine anaitwa Nancy, mwingine anatoka Mombasa anaitwa Kennedy. Na cha kushangaza ni kwamba ni watu ambao wamebobea katika field zao, kwa sababu wote ni mawakili. Na cha kushangaza ni kwamba hawajakuwa shortlisted. So sisi katika mtazamo wetu ni kwamba in as much as tunatarajia kwamba tutapata hiyo board, lakini bado matakwa ya vijana hayatakuwa yameangaziwa vile sisi tunavyotaka. Na mimi labda tu nihimize vijana wenzangu, we must hold this government to account, ya kwamba not only katika politics but even katika mchakato wa kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba in future tunapata viongozi ambao wanastahili.
Asante sana, tunapata viongozi ambao wanastahili. Pengine tueleze wewe, kwa maoni yako, unahisi mchakato huu kwa namna gani? Una imani ya kwamba tutapata wale ambao wataendesha uchaguzi vyema?
Mimi kwa majina yangu ni Ronald Mwakatini Mwadime, mwanaharakati Taita Taveta. Kulingana na mchakato ule, kwa asilimia fulani naweza kuwa na imani nao, kwa asilimia fulani sitakuwa na imani nao, kwa sababu miaka yote tumeweza kuwa nao ma commissioners, lakini bado uchaguzi ukija unakuwa na vurugu, hauaminiki. Sijui ni mbinu gani watatumia hata wakichaguliwa uchaguzi huu ujao utakapokuwa wa kweli na haki na wananchi waamini.
Kwa hivyo ungependelea iwe vipi, kwamba sasa vijana wamehusika katika kufuatilia hili, wahusike vipi katika uchaguzi pengine, ili kuhakikisha kwamba tume hii Iebc imetenda kazi yake?
Mimi kile naweza sema makamishna hawa vile watakavyoteuliwa wafanye kazi kwa haki bila kuegemea mrengo wa kisiasa. Upande wa vijana, mimi nashindwa kuelewa kwa nini vijana hawahusishwi katika nyanja hizi. Manake vile ndugu yangu Msharafu amesema, ujana ni kuanzia 18 years to 35 years. Na sijaona mtu hapo wa umri huo. Kwa hivyo wote wale ni watu waliobebea, ni wazee. Na mimi naona ni kama wako na godfathers, wanaonekana pale kwa maslahi yao. Sio kama ni kwa maslahi ya nchi wala kwa maslahi ya vijana ambao ndio wengi.
Asante. Pengine tukimalizia na wewe kaka kwa sekunde chache sababu ya muda, maoni yako ni gani kuhusiana na shughuli nzima ya makamishna wa Iebc leo siku ya pili?
Kwa majina ni Riga Mwachofi, na mimi ni kiongozi Taita Taveta na pia youth leader hapa Taita Taveta. Kwa sasa mimi naona ile tume ambayo inafanya msasa wale makamishna na chairperson iko sawa, lakini changamoto moja ambayo na pia sisi kama vijana tungependekeza kuwe shortlisting iweze kufanywa tena, at least kuwe na vijana ambao kwa below 35 years waweze kuhusishwa katika mambo ya kuwa commissioner, kwa sababu vijana kama sisi ambao tunataka kugombea viti vya kisiasa 2027 tunataka tuweze kuwa na level playing field katika siasa ya 2027. Ndio maana unakuta vijana wa Gen Z walianza kuleta shida kuanzia mwaka uliopita, ili wanataka kuhusishwa katika maamuzi ya serikali na maamuzi ya taifa. Ndio maana tunataka hata mmoja wale makomishna awe kijana Gen Z.
Asante sana kwa kaulizo. Nama Ruga, ukisikia ni baadhi tu ya vijana kwenye kaunti ya Taita Taveta wakizungumzia swala hili zima la makamishna wa IEBC ambao tutakuwa tunatarajia kuwa na tume mpya ya uchaguzi. Nikiripotia ama nikiregesha usukani kwako studioni, mimi ni Julius Mariki kutoka kaunti ya Taita Taveta.
Naam, asante sana Julius Mariki Mwakiwa, tukimpokea moja kwa moja kutoka kaunti ya Taita Taveta. Mtazamaji, kwa muktadha huo tuvuke hadi kaunti ya Nakuru ambapo tunaungana na mwanahabari wetu Chichi Josephine, naye anazungumza na wakazi wa kaunti hii ya Nakuru kuhusiana na swala sawa kuhusiana na usaili wa makamishna wa IEBC, tukiungana naye kwa njia ya moja kwa moja. Chichi.
Andrin, ni kweli mchakato mzima wa mahojiano ya kuweza kumtafuta mwenyekiti mpya wa tume ya IEBC uliweza kuanza siku ya Jumatatu na kutamatika hapo jana, na hii leo mchakato wa kuweza kufanya mahojiano ya kuwatafuta makamishna wa IEBC utakuwa ukiendelea hii leo, na hivyo basi Wakenya wanazidi kuibua hisia tofauti kuhusiana na masuala hayo, na zaidi ya yote wanazidi kuuliza ama swali linasalia ni je, Wakenya wametoshereka ama wameweza kuridhishwa na kile ambacho kimekuwa kikiendelea? Je, na wale ambao wameweza kujiwasilisha wakitaka kuwa wanachama ama kuweza kuwa wenyekiti ama mwenyekiti wa tume ya IEBC. Hivyo basi niruhusu tu niweze kuwahusisha wakazi wa kaunti ya Nakuru waweze kuniambia kwa wao wanaona vipi kuhusiana na mchakato mzima wa mahojiano wa yule ambaye ni mwenyekiti pamoja na wale ambao ni makamishna wa IEBC. Bwana Sande, karibia hapa tuzungumze. Nieleze wewe unaona vipi kuhusiana na mahojiano ambayo yalianza siku ya Jumatatu yakatamatika jana, na hii leo tunatarajia kwamba mahojiano ya makamishna itakuwa ikifanyika.
Kwa majina naitwa Sande Baresia, Senator mtarajiwa Nakuru County. Mahojiano kufikia hapo sio mbaya, lakini nina swala moja ambalo nataka kusema. Political class should keep off hiyo mambo ya kuchagua makamishna, kwa sababu tunagundua hapa panel inalalama kwamba kuna mtu ambaye anataka kenye yeye anataka. Tafadhali serikali ambayo inatawala sasa, mnajua uchungu ambao umeletea wa Kenya baada ya after hijacking the commissioners and going your way. You are not supposed to interfere with the panel. Number 2, which is very critical, America should keep off Kenyan affairs, because once that panel decides who wants to be a referee, America should keep off interfering. Kenya is a sovereign state. Sisi tumechoka kutawaliwa na wazungu wenye wamevaa nguo za watu weusi. Tumechoka na ukandamizaji wa sheria ya nchi yenye ifuatwi. Naomba hivi, any commissioner elected in the office should be given security and privacy, because that is the problem. They keep off from political class so that they can make the right decision. Kufikia sasa hakuna commissioner mwenye alisema jambo ambalo aliamua kitu ambacho ilisaidia wa Kenya. Kenyans are bleeding because of the referees. We want a competent referee. Na wanasiasa hapa nasema hapa tueni deep state. Hakuna deep state. Kenyans don't want your deep state thing. We are crying.
IEBC inafaa kuwa huru kama vile ambavyo ni tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka. Nieleze iwapo una imani ya kwamba IEBC itasalia kuwa huru kwa miaka ijayo labda.
Kufikia penye tumefika sasa hivi sioni, kwa sababu watu wanajipiga kifua ati 2027 tutachukua. Wache ifike 2027, kama mutapea tume ya IEBC uhuru wa kuchagua kufanya uamuzi, Kenya haitakuwa tena, it will not be the same again. We want all the government operatives to be given freedom to protect and to provide for Kenyans. Kama IEBC tume itakuwa, if the commission will be in place, then the police will take charge, because if you compromise the police, then the tume haitakuwa na kazi, kwa sababu tume itakuwa na nguvu kama itakuwa na security. Saizi tume, it is weak. Every system is weak. Judiciary is weak because of what? People have been compromised. We need honesty.
Naam, shukrani. Nizungumze na wewe, nieleze mchakato mzima wa mahojiano uliona vipi kama Mkenya hapo wakati ambapo ilianza siku ya Jumatatu ikaweza kutamatika hapo jana, na hii leo tunatarajia makamishna waweze kupigwa msasa.
Yes, mimi ni bodaboda hapa Nakuru. Nimekuwa nikiona hiyo tume vile imekuwa ikiendelea hata vile walimaliza. Mchakato imeenda vizuri, haijaenda vibaya. Kwa sababu unajua one name, president will choose one name from the commissioners kwa hiyo jina ambayo atapatiwa. Lakini mimi ningependa kusema hivi, maybe ni rewind back because this is a veto institution na kuna political high voltage ambayo inahusika mahali pale. Na ifai kwenda namna hiyo kwa sababu sasa hivi tumebaki na karibu 2 years to go to an election. So what I'm asking, all this long, what have you been doing with the veto institution? So mmekuwa mki-hold hostage ili nyinyi mfanye vile mnataka. Hiyo mjafanya fair kwa sababu ukumbuka emergency waliandamana pale nyuma. Kama ingekuwa hivyo kwa sababu ya financial bill, kama ingekuwa hivyo au wabunge wote wenye walipitisha financial bill wangerudi nyumbani na hiyo ingemake historia mzuri tangu Kenya ianze. Lakini sasa mlitushika mkono, sasa haikufanyika hivyo. Naomba hivi kwa commissioners ambao watachaguliwa. Please go back to the register. Register all the fake people ambao wameregister pale. Ati jina inaapia, ati ID inaapia, lakini picha EIP. Hizo mtoe zote, muweke kila kitu clean na mwanze sasa. Na kuna constituencies mingi ambazo zijafanywa by election. Please can you do that as quick as possible once you've been selected to be in the office. Now to the government. Muache kuingiza mkono huko ndani, mkuchokora huko ndani. Muache hao watu wako na security yao, wafanye kazi yao inastahili, alafu iende salama. Yes. Kuna
matumaini ya kwamba wale ambao ni makamishna ambao labda watapata ama wale ambao watapata nafasi watakuwa wanawajibika?
Sina uhakika watakuwa wanajibika. Is upon them now. Is upon them now. Where they want to take Kenya is upon them. Yes, let's do what they want to do, but they should have integrity ya kutosha ya kufanya kila kitu ambayo inawezekana na ni vizuri. Sio ile ingine ati Cherera 4 wanasema Ruto hajashinda, au wengine 3 wanasema ati Ruto ameshinda, alafu wana decide ati Ruto sasa ameshinda. Hiyo hapana.
Shukrani sana kwa kauli yako. Hivyo basi Andrene leo kwamba ni wakazi wa kaunti ya Nakuru wakieleza matarajio yao kutokana na ile ambayo ama mahojiano ambayo yatakuwa yakiendelea hii leo ya wale ambao ni makamishna wa tume ya Iebc. Hivyo basi wanasema kwamba wanatarajia iwapo watapata nafasi ya kuweza kuchukua nyadhifa zile basi watakuwa wakiwajibika, na labda kutakuweko tuna mtafaruku wakati wa kufikia uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027 na chaguzi zingine ambazo labda zitakuwa zikifuata. Kutoka kwangu sina la ziada. Andrene tuko usukani, mimi ni Chichi Josephine.
Namna ndizo hisia mseto kutoka kwa wakazi wa kaunti ya Nakuru, mtazamaji. Kama nilivyokuwa nimekuahidi hapo awali, basi hapo baadaye mwendo wa saa 6:30 tutakuwa tukimpata kamishna mwingine ambaye mwaniaji wa nafasi hiyo ya kamishna katika tume ya Iebc mbele ya jopo la mchujo huko katika chuo cha bima cha mafunzo South Sea Albert Nguma, na bila shaka tutakuletea mahojiano kwa njia ya moja kwa moja. Tuangazie taarifa nyingine tofauti na hii ya usaili wa makamishna wa Iebc. Baadhi ya wakazi kutoka kaunti ya Vihiga wameelezea wasiwasi wao kuhusu hali ya usalama wa taifa, wakisema kuwa wizara ya usalama imelegea katika jukumu lake la kuwahakikishia Wakenya usalama wao. Wakazi hao wamedai kuwa waziri Kipchumba Murkomen amefeli katika kutekeleza majukumu yake. Haya yanajiri taifa la Kenya limekuwa likishuhudia ongezeko la visa vya kijangili katika bonde la Ufa na mashambulizi ya kigaidi katika maeneo ya kaskazini mashariki mwa nchi.
Karibu sana.
Kipchumba Murkomen tangu aweko kwa hiyo kiti ambayo hako, sisi hatuoni ile kazi ambayo anafanya. Abduction zimekuwa nyingi, watu wanapotea. Unasikia polisi yuko karibu, unasikia watu walikatakatwa wakawekwa kwa magunia. Sasa tunashangaa hii ni serikali gani ambayo moto atafika mahali apotee na serikali ikose kufuatilia. Visa zimekuwa visa mingi, watu wetu wanapotea.
Rais wetu asichague marafiki, atuwe ni best, achague watu wa kufanya kazi, nchi ikuwe mzuri. Vijana wapewe kenye nimesema hapo nyuma, agirie job huko ya kufyeka bichaka imejaa huku, ya kukatakata mitaro, wapate 500, nchi itakuwa na usalama.
Once he was given that docket, ndio mambo ya abduction imeenda juu sana. Ndio mambo ya Al-Shabaab unaona inaanza kuna imenawiri. Si umesikia hata ng'ombe huko nini Rift Valley huko nini zimeanza kuibiwa, zimeibiwa kwa wingi sana.
Na mtazamaji, na mahojiano hayo ya kumtafuta wale 6 ambao watajaza nafasi ya makamishna pale katika tume ya IEBC. Kikao hicho kimerejelewa kikiongozwa na mwenyekiti wao Daktari Nelson Makanda. Sasa hivi mtazamaji, ambaye atajiwasilisha mbele ya jopo hili la mchujo ni Albert Nguma. Labda mtazamaji, hivi tukivuka upande huo, tayari watu wawili wamesailiwa siku ya leo, akiwa ni pamoja na mke wa gavana ya kaunti ya Marsabit ambaye ni Alamitu Guyo Jatani. Aidha mtazamaji, tumekuwa naye Ahmed Sheikh Taki, alikuwa hapo mwendo wa asubuhi. Aidha mtazamaji, alistahili kusailiwa asubuhi mapema, hakujiwasilisha. Bado tunasaka taarifa hiyo tujue sababu yake. Sasa tuvuke moja kwa moja hadi katika chuo hicho cha mafunzo cha South Sea tupate jinsi usaili huu unaendelezwa.
Proceeded for A levels in Kiambu County, that is at Mangu High School. Then I proceeded to Kenyatta University. I graduated with a degree in Bachelor of Education Science. And then immediately after graduation, I was deployed by the Teacher Service Commission to teach sciences in a school in Tana River County called Tarasa High School. I served there for 3 years from 1993. In early 1996, I was promoted to be a deputy principal. Interestingly, I was taken back to my former high school to be deputy principal there. No, that was Kwale High School. Yes. There were quite a number of challenges in that school that I found there, very different from the school that I had attended for 4 years. And therefore, at a very young age, the responsibility of turning around the fortunes of the school and knowing that it was a lifeline for children of the whole of Kwale district at that time, because all those who did well in the district will, if they don't go to a national school, then they will find themselves at Kwale High School. So for us, it was a lifeline for the boy child. In the 3 years that I was there, 1996, 97, 98, we were able to turn around the performance of the school, improve the discipline of the children, and the mean grade of the school had actually picked up. Then towards the end of 1998, I was actually promoted to be a principal. But then at that same time, I'd applied to pursue a master's degree, and therefore I was not able to take up the position of principal. I opted to proceed for postgraduate studies because I had seen that I'd already done 6 years after my graduation, and I felt that was time to upgrade my skills and probably open more opportunities for myself. So I proceeded for the master's, which was offered by University of Sunderland of UK, the master's in computer-based information systems. But at the same time, I also had applied earlier to join the Ministry of Education as an education officer, and that was also successful. Now, this degree was being conducted jointly between the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology and the University of Sunderland. So I was still able to join the ministry as well as pursue the Master of Science in Computer-Based Information Systems. I successfully completed that MSc in computer-based information systems, and I performed really well. It was an eye-opener for me because it opened a new area that at that time was emerging, computer information systems were emerging virtually across both government and even in the non-government space. So I felt that I actually needed to pursue it more, especially when I was at the university. They had seen my potential and said I could actually prepare myself to join the academia, which was my line, because that's what I was trained in, and I found it quite interesting that I could get back to academia. The environment is conducive to more learning and also to grow professionally, because I will work around people who are already in that space and they're doing very well. They will get mentorship and growth. So I resigned from the Ministry of Education and was ready now to move into academia. At the same time, the university, that is Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, was accrediting institutions to offer its academic programs. So there are quite a number across the country, and one such institution actually requested the university to see if they could get someone to help them start a department that will offer diploma programs of the university, give them the technical assistance to establish that department, grow it, and actually successfully offer those programs. My name was suggested. I attended interviews and I was accepted, and therefore I started building a Department of Information Technology at Jeffrey Institute of Professional Studies. I started the program. We admitted students who are doing GOtv Diploma in Information Technology. We recruited lecturers for the department, and we offered those programs in 2001, 2002, and 2003. At the end of 2003, I felt that I'd gotten the basics of coordinating university programs, and I felt that I needed to move to a higher space, and therefore I approached the university to see whether I could actually join the university, that is GOtv, as a lecturer there. And my application was accepted, and I joined the Department of Information Technology at GOtv as a tutorial fellow to teach ICT programs, which I did from 2004 to the end of 2009. Now, during my 6-year tenure at the university, I was able to grow. I got responsibilities. I was put in charge of examinations in that department, a very sensitive department, setting exams, ensuring quality assurance, and the integrity surrounding those exams, and the processing of examination results to SIGNET, which I was able to do for 3 years. Now, towards the end of 2009, I saw advertisements for the newly formed Interim Independent Electoral Commission. They were looking for officers to serve in the regions, constituencies, as election officers. And I felt it would have been a great opportunity for myself to grow further and apply my knowledge beyond academia, which had been the thing that I'd done from the time I graduated. I felt I could try other spaces and apply my knowledge. My application was successful, and I was employed by the then Interim Independent Electoral Commission as a constituency elections coordinator, and posted to Magarini constituency in Kilifi County. In that same year, the country conducted the referendum to the then proposed new constitution of Kenya, which was conducted that year. I served as a returning officer for Magarini constituency in that referendum, coordinated the elections. Basically, once we received the writs from the chairperson, we went ahead and conducted those elections, recruit, map the polling stations, register new voters at that time, because the register that had been maintained by the ECK had actually been cancelled by Parliament. So we needed to create new registers. So we registered voters, prepared the register of voters, facilitated inspection and verification of that register of voters, and went ahead to recruit temporary election officials, and I conducted that referendum in 2010 in Magarini constituency. After that, we moved on. There were quite a number of by-elections that had arisen that were still pending because there had been no electoral commission. And so we started, and the commission took it upon itself to use by-elections as a training platform for the newly recruited election officials, because we had come from diverse backgrounds and very few had any much experience in managing elections. So from that early point, I had offered myself to learn and also take up challenges that the commission was bringing upon the staff. For example, I offered myself when we were doing the post-referendum evaluation process to basically as a volunteer to sit in those committees that were doing evaluation, and I knew in the process I would learn so much and I will also get experience. I offered myself to do electoral technology-related reforms and proposals that could be put on the table, because that was my background in ICT. I taught that for almost 9 years. So I contributed immensely in that process. And luckily, I was offered a chance to coordinate elections that were being by-elections in the Ikolomani constituency. I was sent there as the team leader. I was the first constituency level officer to be made a team leader for a by-election. Previously, they will be led by directors and higher officers. So as a constituency coordinator going there, and among the team that I was leading were directors, managers, and colleague officers, was a real chance. My leadership skills were honed in that election. Challenged, but still I was able to successfully lead the team to deliver that by-election in 2011. Now, the commission then set up a task to prepare its first strategic plan for 2011-2017 in preparation for the upcoming, initially there were to be 2012 general elections that were later pushed to 2013. I was picked to be in that team that will prepare the first strategic plan for the Iebc. I contributed immensely, especially in the development of the first concept of conducting 6 elections in one day, because previously we used to have 3 elections, those of president, member of National Assembly, and then councillor. This was the first time that the commission will be conducting 6 elections, so I was given the task of drawing how 6 elections can be conducted, how a polling station could be set up, how ballot papers could be issued, the casting of those ballots, and maintaining a smooth flow of voters in a polling station. I'd never done that before, but I took up that opportunity in my stride, and I developed that model that was then discussed by management, and later the commission approved a system that will have allowed 6 elections to be conducted in one day. Then that was for the general elections for 2012 that were later pushed to 2013. I still remained in Magarini constituency for those general elections. I was the returning officer for that constituency. We conducted the first 6 elections in one day. In that general election, successfully delivered that election. In 2014.
Now move on to where you are now, so that we.
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Now in 2014, I was actually promoted in acting capacity to be the regional elections coordinator in charge of North Coast. That time, North Coast region was covering Kilifi, Tana River, and Lamu constituencies. I started acting in 2014 up to 2015. Then I was transferred to South Coast region in charge of Kwale, Tana River, and Taita Taveta counties in the same capacity. But later in that same year, I was competitively recruited to that position of regional elections coordinator in charge of South Coast region. I served in 2016 and 2017. When the new commission came, they devolved the functions of the commission from regions to counties. So they created the office of the county elections manager, and therefore I was redesignated from regional elections coordinator to county elections manager and posted to Kitui County, where I conducted the general elections of 2017 as the county elections manager, but I also served as the county returning officer for Kitui County, in charge of the elections of governor, senator, and the county woman member to the National Assembly, but also supervising the returning officer in the other 8 constituencies in the county. I served that for the 2017 general election. As you may recall, Chair and members, the presidential elections of 2017 were nullified by the Supreme Court, and a fresh presidential election was ordered by the Supreme Court. The Commission actually appointed a technical team to coordinate the conduct of that fresh presidential election. I was honored to be recruited among the team that coordinated that fresh presidential election, and I was put in charge of electoral technology, ensure that we streamline the electoral technology systems, including hardware, a secure network, results transmission system, voter identification, and all that. I was able to coordinate that. And in that team, we actually proposed a number of recommendations which were adopted and approved by the Commission, like involving representatives or experts from political parties to have controlled access to the servers where the results were being transmitted into, because previously they'll say it is not clear what's happening behind the servers. So representatives of political parties whose names were forwarded to the Commission were allowed controlled access to those servers. We developed an elaborate system for the tallying and display of those presidential election results in that fresh presidential election, and also development of electronic development of Form 34C that is used to declare the presidential election results. It was a smooth process. Of course, it was marred by a lot of violence in a number of counties, but when we coordinated that process at the National Tallying Center, everything was smooth. The election results were still challenged.
I'd like to stop you there.
Held. Thank you.
I'd like to stop you there.
Thank you.
And ask Linda to come and ask.
Thank you, Chair.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Albert Ngoma Gogo,
Yes,
from the credentials that are before us, you have worked with the IEBC Commission in various capacities under different commissioners and chairpersons in the different tenors.
Yes.
You know the Commission.
Yes.
Now, this selection panel would like to know what different skills and competencies are you bringing to the table that will help you and the other commissioners in the execution of your mandate if you are selected to be a member, one of the members of the Commission?
Thank you, Chair, and Madam Linda. One, I bring to the table 15 years of experience in electoral management. As you have rightly put it, I have served in various capacities. One at the field at constituency level as a constituency returning officer. So I'm able to understand what happens at polling stations, the challenges that presiding officers are likely to experience, and what solutions they need, what kind of support they need to enable them execute elections. Remember, elections start and end at the polling station. And therefore, when I come on board as a commissioner, I'll be able to develop policies and provide a feedback mechanism that will help us to be on top of what is happening at the polling station. Focus normally is taken to the National Tallying Center, but the elections happen and end at the polling station. Courts have declared themselves, like in the minor KI case, that the results declared at the polling station are final. And therefore, I'll be able to put policies in place that ensure that that process is foolproof, and that we are sure that every vote matters. Any person who shows up to vote at a polling station, their vote will matter. The other thing that I bring on the table, Madam Linda, is my strong background in information and communication technologies. The Commission implements election technologies to support its core processes in elections management. I didn't get a chance to explain that I was part of the teams that developed the specifications for the biometric voter registration systems that we are currently using, and also when we are migrating to using the Kenya Integrated Electoral Management System, KIMS. I was also there in developing specifications of that shift from the BVR computers to the KIMS tablet for registration, identification of voters, and transmission of results. So I'm bringing to the table that knowledge from the design of those systems to how they're implemented. I'm a master trainer in the Iebc on how to train all the election officials, including training on the use of those ICTs. So I'll be able to develop policies that will enable that technology is implemented and achieves the purpose for which it is designed to support the electoral process. And then generally my 15 years in electoral management experience across the board in voter education, electoral operations. I've been a county elections manager now for 11 years. How to deal with election officials in the field will be very useful to this commission. I wish to mention to this panel that a commissioner at Iebc is very different from a standard board member, maybe of a state corporation. You will make policies, you will do oversight, and you will develop strategy for the commission. But when it comes to the election time, you will be in the trenches with your foot soldiers to motivate them. And I've been in those trenches, and I'll be able to support them. I was county elections manager for Nairobi County in 2022 election with over 30,000 staff. I was able to motivate them despite all those challenges, and we were able to deliver those elections, 106 elections to be exact. So I'm able to, even from a distance, to support a strong team to make sure they deliver. So I'll be able to develop policies to make sure that every person in the commission is able to support our foot soldiers who basically deliver the election, not for the commission, but also for the country.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. You've answered my question, and I wish you all the best. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I turn you over to Madam Caro to briefly ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome once more, Mr. Nguma. You have taken us through your involvement and expertise on the issues of technology, and you have helped particularly the Commission deliver a free, fair and credible elections using the technology.
Yes.
From where you sit and being an insider and having been, participated in the development of this technology, what still do you think is the problem or the challenges that Iebc still experiences in using technology? And how do you, if you become successful to be a member of the Iebc, would you help the Commission to navigate those challenges?
Thank you, Chair, and Madam Caroline. The technologies that the Commission deploys for elections have served the Commission and the country well. both at, and we look across the electoral cycle, both at the registration of voters, preparation of the register of voters, and then allowing those registered voters to inspect and verify their biometrics on that system, to their identification on election day, and finally, for the most important part, the transmission of those results. Though they have worked very well, there are a number of areas which we see as weaknesses where we feel, and if I come in as a commissioner, I would want to recommend that we consider those proposals to make that system work well. Because one, it is one thing for a system to work well, but another for the users of that system to actually believe that it is working well for them and to trust it. So I will want to put policies on the ground that will bring believability and trust in that system. For example, when the system that we have been using, the BVR system, a voter will be registered on the BVR kit at a registration station, and then their details will be physically transferred from that computer that was used for registration to a system where now they will be uploaded to the election database for processing of those results. The good thing is that system has now been improved. Instead of using the BVR kit, now we are going ahead to move to use the KIMS tablet. That KIMS tablet has a number of improvements. One, it is very small. It's your standard tablet like this box here, or that size. It can sustain power for long. It can take the fingerprints. It can take the image of that voter. And the good thing is, once it is connected to the network, it automatically uploads that data. So the issue of the physical transmission has now been eliminated. However, when a voter is registered, we give them an acknowledgement slip. But that is all they have, a token that says, I'm from a registration center. Now, because that system is online, my recommendation would be a voter, once registered by that system and their data is uploaded, they get a message that your application has been received by Iebc and it is being processed. I will also be proposing that we develop timelines within which that application will be confirmed as a registration, because the application is one phase and then registration is another. And once your data is uploaded in the server, it's supposed to go a number of processes. For example, one of the checks we do is to make sure that this voter is not already registered. So we conduct what we call deduplication. You check your ID, you check the fingerprints and even the image against the data that is already in the database of the register of voters. If this person has not been previously registered, then they are added to the register. It is a heavy process which you cannot be doing on a day-to-day basis. But we shall develop timelines within which we know we are able to do those processes. And once it is done, again, that voter, if they give us a telephone number, they get a message that you are now in the register of Iebc. You can verify using this, because we have a portal. It's called verify.iebc.or.ke. So they can actually go to that portal and verify that indeed they're in that system, which polling station they are registered at, so that there's believability in that system. Yeah.
So as you speak of believability, you remember in the Supreme Court case on 2022,
yes,
the presidential petition, there was this allegation of, you remember, the BAMBA not leaving the bathroom, Jose Camargo, and the hacking of the system.
Yes.
Having been at Iebc and now given a chance, how would you ensure that Kenyans have confidence in that system? That's what we are asking. Now that you're picking up issues of believability and trust in technology.
Yes.
So what are those measures, step by step, or you propose that can be used to make sure that the plumber leaves the bathroom, is not there during the transmission of results?
Thank you. I will want to use a method that we use in facilitation, because I'm a trainer and a facilitator. In facilitation, we say, before you start your session, tell your audience what you want to tell them. Then tell them, and after you've told them, tell them what you've just told them. Now, we shall develop policies and guidelines that will enable every voter to know exactly what is going to happen, what is expected of them, what that system will do once they have been identified. What will happen when we say a presiding officer has taken an image of that form and has transmitted that, what exactly happens to their form? At what point can they actually verify that that form? And I will encourage our voters to, because we post that form at the entrance of a polling station once counting and signing of the form has been done, I encourage every voter to take that picture of that image of the form and check that it is the same form that is on that portal. And then the other processes now are a little bit more technical. They can better be done by agents of candidates and political parties, because now they happen at the polling tallying centers. But the voter must know what their result form looked like, and they're able to verify for themselves that that same form whose image they took at the polling station is the same one that is at the results portal. Because there was that talk that that form was intercepted, changed, and then put on the portal. But if you look at the turnaround time between the submission of that form and its appearance at that server, the likelihood of manipulation is very slim. But you see, people must know exactly what happens, even in terms of timelines, so that they believe that that form has not been changed. And if it is changed, they'll be able to compare it with the image that they have on their phone.
Okay, thank you very much, and I wish you the best.
Thank you,
Chair.
Thank you. I want to turn you to Ambassador Kokimuli to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Nguma,
yes,
karibu.
Madam. Asante sana.
I would like to shift this conversation a little bit.
Yes.
Since you joined, actually, you joined ECK.
IEC.
Sorry.
The interim.
Yes, the interim.
Yes.
So you came in just after the disbandment of ECK. Correct. And the establishment of IIEC.
Correct.
And you've been there for 15 years.
Yes.
So you will forgive me for asking some of the questions I will ask. And I know you have extensive practical experience.
Yes.
On the electoral cycle. I've heard you quote the method we use in bridge training, using bridge curriculum, what you have just quoted to my colleague. And therefore, I would like to ask you the first question, just specifically. You have told the panel, in response to the questions from my colleague, that you will develop policies.
Yes.
You will develop this, you will do this, you will do this. Now, I am wondering, for 15 years, you have worked for IIEC and IEBC and witnessed transformative elections since the promulgation of the Constitution of 2010. What has stopped you from recommending the same policies and from addressing the challenges that you want to address when you become a commissioner?
Thank you, Madam. The term that I use, develop, does not necessarily mean that there are no existing policies. There are policies which we have used, like we have an ICT policy that has guided the acquisition, management, use, and even retirement of technologies over time, put in policies for security, data management. So those policies are there. But by saying that I will develop, chances are there will be gaps in the existing policies that we will endeavor to address. And also there might be need for nuance.
You either know, you have been there for 15 years, so you must know specific areas that require to be addressed.
Correct.
And that's what I'm inviting you to tell us from your own extensive experience. This is what I have identified as a returning officer, as a county, as a CEC, and so on. And what I would like to do, because when you go there, you are going back to, if you are successful, you will be going back as a member of the commission at a commissioner level.
Correct.
And therefore, you will be one of the chairs of the 7 or so committees that you have.
Yes.
And with your experience, I imagine you will be able to actually fast track some of the solutions that you're offering here.
Yes.
So that's why I am inviting you to tell us, of all these policies, this is some of the key, just 3. These are some of the key things that I've experienced since 2010 to date that don't seem to be addressed. And when I go there, I will put strategy 1, 2, 3 to actually address that. 3 challenges that you have experienced personally in your capacities, and 3 strategies on which you will employ when you get there. Just list, don't describe.
Thank you. I'll begin with the process of registration of voters. I was explaining to Madam Caroline the challenges that we have, which was manual processes of registration and transmission of the data before it is uploaded. Now, good thing is we have now the KIMS tablet. We'll be pushing to have that implemented, fast-tracked and implemented. Yes, 1. Number 2 is the process of management of the presidential election results. We have constituencies and counties that don't raise much temperatures in the country, but the presidential election results always has more temperatures. So that is another area that I will want to fast track on. First, there are proposals that have been made for amendment of the process of verification and tallying of presidential election results that is currently before the National Assembly committees, that is JLAC. If I come in as a commissioner, that is an area that I'll want to see fast-tracked so that those proposals come into being. Now, what do these proposals bring on the table? They bring more transparency in the process of tallying, verification, and the declaration of the presidential election results. As observed by the Supreme Court, the law was talking about chairperson all through, and it appeared that the other commissioners had no role. So the proposed amendments prescribe good roles and responsibilities to all the members of the commission, and therefore they will we will play, if I come in, we will play a role in that process so that it is a collective responsibility, make it more transparent, and especially on the part of preparing Form 34C, which is the election, presidential election declaration result form. Make it progressive in terms of its progress, like one constituency returning officer comes at a time. Once they come and we verified, their results immediately are added to Form 34C, and we do that until the 290th returning officer has come in, and that form is there. It prepares all the summaries that are needed to enable the chairman to declare results. That is an area that I want to bring on board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nguma, and all the best. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. FCPA, tell me, please.
Thank you, Chair. Wanakogo.
Yes, sir.
Now that you are an insider, I think you are the first insider we are interviewing in this process. What informs the assignment of duties and responsibilities at IEBC currently? What is the criteria for assigning duties, transferring officers? What informs that?
Across board or for a particular cadre of staff?
Across board. Like in your case, actually let me use your case. In 2020, you were appointed as manager electoral operations.
Yes.
And then come 2022, again you are moved to, before then I think you are a county election manager.
Correct.
Then you are moved to become manager electoral operations.
Yes.
Then immediately you also moved to become a county election manager again.
Yes.
So what informs this movement and at IEBC?
Number one, the Commission has a policy that an officer, especially one who serves as a returning officer, cannot serve in an electoral area for more than one general election. So after every general election, before the next one, every officer who serves as a returning officer will be moved to another station. Also, in terms of now for horizontal movement of officers, for example, like the case you've cited, once you are a manager, you are in that rank, you can serve either at the headquarters or at the field, depending on your skills and abilities that you can bring on the table and solve problems. So I was a county elections manager, that time serving in Kitui County, and then I was redesignated manager electoral operations at a time when the commission had a very high number of by-elections that were happening across the country. Case in point, we had the election of Governor Nairobi County after the impeachment of the then governor, and there was no deputy. So there was an election to be conducted for governor of Nairobi County. We also had by-elections for Senate elections for Garissa and the Machakos counties. We had the by-elections for Member of National Assembly, Kabuchai and Matungu, and I think 5 others for county assembly elections. So it was felt that they needed an officer who is well grounded in terms of electoral operations and field support. And in its wisdom, the commission actually appointed me to come in to serve as manager electoral operations. After we delivered those elections, I was redeployed back to the counties in the wisdom of the commission, which I was not privy to.
Was that movement really optimizing your skills, experience, taking note that one of the duties and responsibilities of manager electoral operations was to, and this is where I'm interested in, you are to advise on election materials.
Yes.
To ensure that there is efficiency and effectiveness, and more so cost effectiveness. So I'm interested, why is our elections, since this is one of your duties, one of the duties that you had to advise on management of election materials, why are our electoral materials expensive, and why is our elections one of the most expensive from a practical point of view, being an insider?
Thank you. You are right about the issue of advising on election materials. In fact, during my short tenure, we reviewed the specifications of election materials which were actually used in the procurement of materials for the 2022 general elections. Now, on the part of expensive elections, it needs to be looked at in context. Exactly where we are talking about, because our elections are driven by well-defined cost drivers, some of which are actually prescribed in law, and the Commission has no choice as to whether to implement them or not. For example, use of technology is prescribed in law, and the way it is defined in law as secure system, you know, the word secure, once you interpret it properly in terms of a specification of an electoral system, already brings on board very expensive mechanism to support that secure network. Because we are talking about mobile network operators who provide the backbone. You are talking about firewalls that will ensure that data is encrypted end to end. You are talking about a high-level process of managing even the users who will access the system, both the administrators and the end users.
But are these kind of infrastructure that you'll be putting in at every election? Because if you're to buy servers, you're talking of those equipment that are to be used. And, aren't those one-off acquisition or procurement? so that not every other, yes, we can agree at the point of installing them, acquiring them, then there is that high cost. But subsequently, we would expect the cost to reduce because now you'll simply be improving on those controls.
Oh, thank you. In fact, a number of our election materials are reusable. We use them from one election to another, and unless we have breakages or losses. For example, ballot boxes are reused in multiple elections. We also have many other materials, like we bought rechargeable lanterns in the run-up to the 2022 general elections. Those lanterns have been used in by-elections and will still be used for general elections. Chances are we might add more if the number of polling stations increases, but for those that we have, we are not buying others to replace them. KIMS tablets. We need a minimum of 1 KIMS tablet for each polling station. So if the number of polling station goes up, which we have forecast that it will actually go up, unless the recommendations that we've given in the legal reforms to allow the number of voters per polling station be allowed to be expanded. So in urban areas, it's likely to bring down the number of polling stations, and therefore probably the number of equipment that we might need to buy will go down. And a reduction in number of polling stations will have a significant reduction in the overall cost of elections.
So how different will you do or procure or handle if you assume the role of commissioner, having been a staff member?
Thank you, Chair, and FCPA Tanui.
In regard to materials, election materials.
Thank you. The procurement process is well guided in the laws, like the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. What we'll do if I come in as a commissioner is to ensure that both the Public Finance Management Act and the PPADA are actually implemented fully. For one, before the beginning of every financial year, the accounting officer of the commission is supposed to prepare estimates for that year. And with those estimates, there are materials that are procurable, both either locally or even internationally. We'll want to see a procurement plan that covers for all those materials, goods and services that are procurable. In that plan, we will want to see that the proposed methods of procurement actually meet the requirements of the Constitution, fairness, to make sure accountability and value for money. We'll want to see that in our procurement plan. And eventually, when that plan is implemented in the actual procurement, we'll want to see that those plans were followed. And if there are any issues that speak anything that was against the provisions of the law and the internal policies, then we will deal with them. We will not wait until too late. The other issue that I will want to bring on board,
in summary,
yes, those materials that we can buy and keep and they don't go bad, we buy them early and keep them, so that issue of us asking for 20 billion because we want to buy virtually everything at one time will not arise. We'll be looking for 1 billion to buy some materials, so it will not raise those antennas that are normally raised when a big amount of money is put on the table for procurement of a large quantity of materials.
Thank you and wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I now come to Bwana Misati. Karibu, Misati.
Thanks so much, Bwana Albert. I was just wondering whether, given the fact that you have been working in IPC, whether it's fair trying to understand the understanding of candidates about the electoral process, whether it's fair to ask you the same questions we have been asking the other candidates, given now that you almost know all the same. Nevertheless, I want you to tell us, when you have talked about the KIM tablets, at what stage are they now of implementation?
Thank you. At the moment, we have KIMS tablets that we have an information technology center where all our technologies.
Have you already procured the KIMS tablet for the IPC?
Yeah, we have KIMS tablets that were procured for the 2017 general election, and some were procured, 14,000 of them, to complement the ones that we had for purposes of having adequate equipment for the 2022 general election. Now, those tablets are currently maintained at our Information Technology Center, a purpose-made center that was developed for purposes of maintaining electoral technology, because previously we had a challenge of these kits stored in counties which had very little capacity in charging, maintaining them, and make sure that they don't devalue. So those kits are being maintained regularly, and they are usable. Though a good chunk of them, the ones purchased in 2017, the Commission has recommended that they be replaced because they have basically coming to their end of life. By 2027, they'll be 10 years old. They do not have capabilities that we look forward to having, for example, capturing the iris, having seen challenges with a fingerprint identification. We want to add an extra biometric of the iris scan, which those tablets bought in 2017 cannot currently support. So they are usable, but going forward, not all of them may actually be appropriate for the next coming general election.
Thanks so much. I heard you mention about when you are doing registration, you are proposing some things about the message, getting a message to your phone. Are you aware that there are some people in this country who are citizens and who are supposed to be voters who do not have access to phones? So how do you reconcile that?
Thank you. The use of the phone, and I was very clear, it said for those who will have supplied a phone number will be able to get that message. However, even when I was a registration officer and we are registering voters way back in 2011, I will encourage the voter to give a telephone number of a person who can relay to them a message if need be, because it will help. But if someone does not have a number, we have alternative methods of still being able to verify your voter registration status.
The other question, it's just a follow-up question. You have been in IEBC and you have mentioned about voter registration. Could you enlighten the Kenyans who are watching, given that our constitution says that voter registration should be continuous, from the insider perspective, why are we not doing voter registration?
Thank you, Chair. There are a number of factors that are hindering the current registration of voters, and those are some of the proposals that I'll be putting on the table to reform. For example, when an officer is designated as a registration officer, they are gazetted by the Commission to serve as a registration officer in the station where they are at the moment. So they are gazetted, they serve as registration officer for that area. If they move from that area, they're supposed to be gazetted as the registration officer in the new station. Now the person who gazettes is the chairperson of the commission. So although the notice of election of the 2022 general election had actually indicated the date by which registration of voters, that is continuous registration of voters, should have resumed, there was nobody to gazette those registration officers at that time because the previous commission had completed their terms, and nobody will gazette that. The other challenge, which is something that will also bring on the table, is a maintenance of.
Does the gazettement have a shelf life?
Yes, you are gazetted for a specific registration area. Like if I'm in Magarini constituency, I'll be gazetted as registration officer Magarini constituency. So if I move to Kilifi North, I'm supposed to be gazetted as registration officer Kilifi North. It was meant to protect arbitrary appearance of persons to be registration officers, and nobody will take ownership of the activities that they did. But now you see there's a downside if we find ourselves in a situation like the current one we are in. I want to draw parallels, for example, with the military policemen. Once they take the oath of, I don't know whether it's allegiance or office, on their passing out day, they are gazetted as soldiers or policemen, and they don't need to be gazetted as a policeman in Kamukunji constituency and the others. So I will be proposing that once a person has been appointed in a position that gives them a chance to be a registration officer and they are gazetted, that gazettement stands for life, and administratively we will acknowledge the station at which they are at the moment. Instead of legislating that, it can be an administrative process, so that it will be easy to implement.
Thanks so much. Now, that means as IPC staff currently you are not doing anything. So what do you do from a day-to-day basis for you to earn a salary currently?
Chair, it's not that we are not doing anything.
I'm not saying you are not doing anything. Please enlighten us. What is it that you are doing, given that now you are not doing that voter registration? And of course, you have clarified that those who were gazetted that time, have they all of them moved to other stations, or the gazettement expired? So what exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis as coordinator of Nairobi?
Thank you, Chair. For the record, those officers were last gazetted as registration officer in the period prior to the general election, because immediately after that, registration was closed, and therefore that was it. They are yet to be gazetted. Now, what we do in between elections? Our elections run around what is called the electoral cycle. Now, the electoral cycle has major phases. We have the pre-election phase, the election phase, and the post-election phase. Now, each of those phases has well-defined activities. When we conduct voter registration, it is one of the pre-election activities. It goes hand in hand with the continuous voter education, which we are currently doing, though with the serious underfunding in that particular area. So we are basically limited to the areas that we can physically access, areas around your office, your station, and nearby places. So we do continuous voter education. We also, like immediately after the election, we did post-election evaluation process, which is done by every cadre of officer. We also handle post-election petition cases.
That's enough.
If any.
That's enough.
Thank you.
So basically, Secretariat implements policy of the commission. So you are currently implementing the policy that was done by the previous commissioners?
Yes, though we have actually gone ahead and done preliminary work that the incoming board or the commission will come and find in their entry for their consideration and approval. For example, I'll highlight the boundary delimitation process. Before its time lapsed, the Secretariat had updated the boundary review operation plan that we had prepared before the elections, so that if we had a new board in January 2023, they'll have found an updated boundary review operation plan for their approval and implementation. We currently are developing a draft strategic plan for the incoming commissioners. So when they come in, they will not start from scratch. They will have a draft strategic plan. And we are doing so many other materials. We're already preparing plans for upcoming by-elections. So when the board comes, they'll find plans for them to approve, because they'll be expected to do those by-elections in a matter of weeks after they are sworn in. So we are preparing for them. When they come in, they will not find an empty tray. We are busy preparing for them, and also preparing those aspects for the 2027 general election that may not necessarily require plenary approval. We are also preparing those materials as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks so much. I wish you well.
Thank you. Ms. Fatuma Saman, kindly ask some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Information sharing is a mechanism that's used for stakeholder consultation. However, it's also guided by information packaging, appropriate information packaging, and appropriate presentation of information.
Yes.
Would you please tell the panel an instance where the right information was shared with the wrong audience, or vice versa?
In the commission?
any situation, just give an example of one and the consequence.
It's a trick question, madam, but I'll still attempt to.
I just want to attempt
give it
to
a
see
go.
if you have a grip of what such circumstances can be and the effect they can have.
Thank you. If you look at my documents, there's a letter in which I was appointed by the CEO to join a technical team that will work on messaging for the Commission. And this was with regard to formulating messages that will be sent to different stakeholders of the Iebc, which include voters, those that are literate, those that may not be literate, those that will be sent using radio channels, others on TV, others on social media. So we look at our stakeholders, we look at our audience and ask ourselves, what kind of information does this stakeholder require from us? What kind of clarifications do they need from us? And we coin messages that are suited for them. I'm trying to imagine a message that is suited for social media users who are tech savvy, and we send it on radio. They will not be able to have that aspect of seeing, feeling, as they interact with that message. So a message that is designed for a social media user sent to radio will basically be a mismatch. It will not convey the required information, but it might create confusion and actually disorient the intended target audience. So yes, the right information packaged wrongly will not achieve its intended purpose. The wrong message packaged properly and nicely, again, will not achieve the intended purpose. But as the Commission, we are very alive to that, and we do prepare messages and customize them to the audience that is going to receive it, or the intended audience. Thank you, Chair.
In the instance of, let's say, a technocrat like yourself, are there circumstances where you would find yourself on national television in the zeal of wanting to inform the public, talking to them about the dynamics of IT usage at the Commission?
Yes, thank you. Indeed, as a Commission, we actually have very close relationships with the media. We do prepare media briefs for the commissioners, for our senior management, and also for field staff. For field staff, it's mostly on FM content, but also some, especially those who serve in urban areas with access to TV stations, we also give them content that is appropriate. I've appeared on TV myself on several occasions to clarify matters of electoral operations that are thematic depending on the theme at that particular time. If we are doing voter registration, then I'll be speaking to voter registration, its attendant technologies, expectations of our audience. If they are voters, where will they find the voting stations? If it's registration, where will they find the registration centers? What do they need to prepare themselves with? Like, you need to have your ID, you need to have clearly in your mind which polling station you will want to vote at. So I've been there on TV. Also, in the run-up to the 2022 general election, I was actually on TV when the Commission was simulating the voting process. And I was taking the chairman as a dummy voter through the process so that Kenyans will see exactly what kind of motions they will go through when they arrive at the polling station. And I was the narrator in that particular session. But as I was taking the chairman and the others who were model voters, I was actually explaining details of the process, including requirements of law, what kind of documents they need. So yes, we do appear on TV as part of voter information and also generally voter education.
Okay, is there a control over what you share and what you don't share? How do you draw the boundaries?
Thank you. That is a very important question. Now, for all cadre of staff, we normally have general scripts that will govern the areas that they're to speak about. But sometimes, depending on the audience, and if it's an interactive audience, they could take you off track. The officers that we send to these TV and radio stations are fairly experienced in electoral matters, and they are given guidance that they stick to their space. They cannot speak on matters of policy because that can only be spoken to by a commissioner or the chairperson. They stick to technical matters that refer directly to the role that they play, so that they don't commit the country into, or the commission into, something that requires policy directions, and it is not in their level to do so. Thank you.
Technocrats are guided not to share too much so that they risk their lives.
In elections, Chair and members, especially if you look at the recent developments, election management is becoming a matter of life and death now. But we do pray that we don't escalate beyond that, because we've gone to other jurisdictions where a mother walks into a polling station with a son riding. I went to Korea as part of a capacity development, and we went to observe the elections. A mother was having, I think, a 5-year-old boy riding his bicycle in the polling station. She voted, and in 2 minutes they had left. In town, there was no indication that this is an election day. If I become commissioner, that is an environment that I'll want to see happening in our own political space. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicodemus Bore, kindly.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I will want our candidates to take a very few minutes in answering what I will be asking. And how will you gauge the popularity of IEBC at the moment?
Thank you, Chair. I scanned through the internet, and I came across, I think, an InfoTrack poll that a very huge headline that says 54% of Kenyans do not trust IEBC to conduct free and fair elections in 2027, and it said 26% actually have confidence. If you put 26 and 54, that's 80%. The 20, as an election manager, I'll want to put them on those who don't trust us, so that it is 74% don't trust us. We put strategies to make sure that these 74% will actually trust the commission prior to the elections.
The reason why I'm asking this is that at the initial stage, when we were introducing yourself, you said you have done a few policies for IEBC,
yes,
including ICT and other policies.
Yes.
Are you part of the team that is making IEBC unpopular?
I wouldn't say that 100%, but I could also say we have inevitably, probably through not doing enough, probably voter education. So I may not have created it, but by not doing probably sufficient voter education, I've contributed indirectly to that, because I have a mandate to do continuous voter education to make sure that Kenyans understand the electoral process, they understand how we do things as the commission. Maybe I've not done enough, and in the process I've created doubts in people's mind. I may have reasons why I have not done enough of that, but it still does not take away the fact that we need to do much more in order to win back the confidence of Kenyans into the electoral space.
So if given the position of the member of IEBC, do you think you can make any difference? Because you have not done so much for the last 15 years. What will make it different for the next 6 years?
Thank you, Chair. The fact that the Commission has not done what we will call sufficient voter education is grounded in a number of factors. Like I explained earlier, the operations of the Commission are guided by an electoral cycle. Now, most of voter education is supposed to be carried out in the pre-election phase because then you prepare people before the election phase comes on what is expected of them, what the commission is responsible for, the kind of stakeholder engagements that we are going to have. That is the best time to conduct voter education. The political environment is not polarized by electoral activities. People will be more receptive. Even the political class, who sometimes are skeptical about us conducting sufficient voter education, at that time they are comfortable. They have just won their seats, and the elections are like 3-4 years away. They will allow us the space to do voter education. But if you look at our budgeting and the funding for voter education, we receive very good money, but it comes at the election phase of the electoral cycle. At that time, the environment, political environment, is getting polarized. Election officials who are supposed to conduct or supervise the voter education by service providers are busy preparing for the election process, so they are unable to give quality voter education because of competing interests at that time. So if I become commissioner, we will be having discussions with the Treasury to ensure that this funding, though adequate, it should never come towards the election phase. Let it come at the right time when the environment is conducive for voter education, and also to allow the voters, the general population, to digest that information, prepare their minds so that when we start the election phase proper, they have already shaped how they want to conduct themselves in that electoral space. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I ask Professor to also ask some questions. Kindly, Prof.
Wanagogo.
Yes, Professor.
I must say I've been impressed with your deep understanding, having worked in the Electoral Commission for those many years. It is evident. Let me start from where Bore has left. In your answer to Bore, you seem to be suggesting that part of the mistrust has a lot to do with lack of voter education. I would say that's a very small, minute part of it from where I sit. From where I sit, the problem is that the Iebc does not conduct a simple, transparent, and verifiable election. If they were to conduct a simple, transparent, and verifiable election, you would have to do very minimal voter education. So let me go to where my main concern is. As an IT expert, you just explained to us when Carol was telling you about the plumber who did not leave the bathroom. And you responded that image, for it to get to the server, is a very short period. That was your answer. My question to you is, if we are able, because you are an IT expert, I'm a layman, I'm just trying to understand. If you are able to transfer this image to the public portal and invite the media and the public to go get it, and we are told that Maina Kiai ruling the polling station, the results go to the server. As a layman and Kenyans out there, the same way you are telling us to go to the public portal, why can't you tell us to just go to the server? I'm a layman, just tell me why this opening, this server. And at what point does that result reach the server? How long does it take to reach the server? Maybe that's the first question.
I respond to that. Thank you, Chair and members. It's interesting you've mentioned the server, because every time, in town, and I don't know whether this interview will actually blow my cover, but I normally walk undercover in town here in Nairobi, And when my shoes are being polished, I will pose electoral-related issues and see how the public is speaking towards them. And I hope they are not watching so that I can continue with my undercover questioning, because it has helped me understand the view of the public and bring that to the table when we are making plans to improve our processes. The server is a term that has been grossly misunderstood. To the ordinary person, the server is like a room where you can open and you see all those forms that have been transmitted. They have been deposited there, and therefore when you go there, you can either physically have it, or you can click a button and say, give me Embakasi Primary School Station 1, and you get a form. The server it is both a physical and also a software platform whose job is simply to process a request that has come from a user and present it in a manner that is useful to the end user. For example, when we transmit our form from the KIMS tablet, it is encrypted. And therefore, even if you are to intercept it, you are receiving an encrypted. If you are able to open it, you will find gibberish on whatever you are trying to look at. Now, the server will receive that, convert it back to the shape that it had when it was captured by the KIMS tablet, and therefore push it to the public portal for us now to use it. So if you go to that server, even if it was a room, you will find gibberish which you cannot consume. So the server, and I think this is one area where if I come in as a commissioner...
Just clarify this to me, because this is very important for the public.
Yes.
You have just said that it is encrypted and then it sends it to the public portal. Yet in your earlier statement, and even from IEBC, it's the image that went to the portal. So what has gone to the public portal?
Yeah, you know, in computing, that image, when you capture it, it will not be transmitted as this sheet of paper. It will be transmitted in a series of zeros and ones, what we call computer language. And even if I was to receive it, I will not make sense out of it, because it does not look like the form that was taken. So it transmitted as a series of zeros and ones, that's the language that computers will understand. When it arrives at the server, now we have put a decrypting mechanism that will change it from encrypted to the normal form that it was when it was transmitted. The purpose is to make it secure as it makes its journey. But when it arrives at the server is also equally secure. It converts it back to the image that can now be put on the portal for us to view and download if we want.
Let me ask you, if it has gone to the portal, the public portal where everybody was picking it, then how come it has been very difficult whenever those who have lost have asked to open the server? Why has it been an issue?
Thank you.
Because the server and the public portal, they have argued it's not the same. Me, I'm not an IT guy. And they are listening to you. You are an IT expert.
Correct.
And let me give you an example so that we don't drag over this. Here and in Parliament, we have the Hansard. So that when we disagree on what was agreed, we say, go and transcribe for us the Hansard. I believe in the same way that we are saying it's encrypted, I'm believing that during the verification, instead of Kenyans arguing this Form 34A and 34B, why can't you just encrypt the server and say, this is what the server has produced, this is what has come from this polling station? That's what I'm trying to get to. What's so hard in that?
Thank you, Chair and members. Actually, that question, like I said, the whole question of opening the server, if I become commissioner, it is a conversation that we will give priority, because in the minds of Kenyans, that is where elections are.
I have an opportunity to tell Kenyans, you are an IT guy. I've just told you how right now as we are talking in this Hansard, it's encrypted. Then they'll go and transcribe it for us and tell us this is what the deliberations were. After polling day, we have 7 days. Can't that server encrypted be transcribed so that when the agents go to whatever tallying center, they are comparing what the returning officer has brought with what has been gotten from the server? Why would that be difficult? You are an IT expert, just advise.
Yeah, it brings me back to the earlier explanation that I had explained about what a server really is. A server processes information that is given to it and then puts it in a format that can be used by the requesters. And therefore, what normally happens, like when the server was opened, and I want to clarify this even because I know I'm being seen live on live TV, the server was opened, and it was opened in a court-controlled process where the court was in charge of that process. The parties that had been given the right to...
Mtazamaji, moja kwa moja kutoka chuo cha mafunzo cha BAMBA huko South Sea jijini Nairobi, ambapo usaili wa makamishna wa Iebc unaendelea katika kikao hicho ambacho kinaongozwa na Daktari Nelson Makanda. Jopo hilo la uteuzi na pia la mchujo, mtazamaji, likiingia kwenye siku ya pili. Aliyekuwa mbele ya kamati hiyo, mtazamaji, ni Albert Gogo Nguma, ambaye pia anajibu maswali akitaka kutoa nafasi ya kuwa miongoni mwa makamishna 6 ambao huenda wakachaguliwa na Rais William Ruto. Mtazamaji, ndio shughuli rasmi, ndio shughuli kuu hapa nchini Kenya. Aidha, mtazamaji, wa Kenya wanazidi kusema na kunena na pia kuibua hisia mseto kuhusiana na jinsi mchakato mzima usaili huu unaendelezwa hapa jijini Nairobi. Sasa tuungane na mwanahabari wetu kutoka kaunti ya Murang'a, Robert Gakure, akiungana na wakazi wa kaunti hii. Wanasema nini kuhusiana na usaili huu wa kutafuta wale ambao watachukua nafasi za makamishna wa Iebc? Gakure?
Naam, shukran. Na moja kwa moja kutoka kaunti ya Murang'a na kupokea kwa njia iliyo sawa. Na hii leo ningependa kuwashirikisha wakazi kutoka kaunti hii ya Murang'a ili tuweze kujua wanayofahamu kuhusu msasa wa makamishna wa Iebc. Hii ni baada ya kuhojiwa kwa wale 11 ambao walikuwa wamewasilisha ombi lao kama wakiwa na ama wakitaka kukuwa mwenyekiti wa tume ya Iebc. Na bila kupoteza muda, ningependa kuwashirikisha wakazi. Tuzungumze, ukianza kwa jina, tuambie uliweza kufuatilia na maoni yako ni yapi? Unaona kama wale ambao walikuwa wanahojiwa ama walikuwa wanajibu maswali wakitaka kupokea ama kupewa wenyekiti wa tume ya Iebc, unaona walijibu maswali kwa njia ambayo ilikuridhisha?
Kwa majina naitwa Peterson Ongiri. Mimi ni mkazi hapa na mwanafunzi. First of all, after the interviews that happened from Monday to Wednesday, we really need a change as a country, especially in the Iebc sector, whereby tulipata wale ambao wanavai kuwa chairman ama chairlady wa the Iebc. Ni wengi wao ni wale wako karibu na serikali, and we are not expecting any change in Iebc, especially the fact that the panel that was interviewing the same walikuwa wanauliza maswali ambayo hayakuleta the best in those interviewees, and expectations zangu ni kawaida tu, mambo yatajirudia tu vile yamekuwa, and we are not supposed to have a lot of expectations as a country and as a nation.
Baada ya kuulizwa maswali, tunajua sasa kutoka leo ni msasa wa makamishna wa Iebc. Unatarajia nini?
What I expect the committee to do is to choose the best suited person for that position. I don't expect as a nation to go back to those eras where we are choosing people based on the political views and the political alignments as a country.
Asante. Niweze kumshirikisha mkazi mwingine ili na yeye aanze kwa majina. Tuambie wewe maoni yako ni yapi? Unaona kama walijibu maswali kwa njia iliyokuridhisha?
Kwa majina naitwa Musa Papela ama Dennis Mose, na kuanga student hapa Murang'a Muti. Alafu pia mimi ni mkaaji wa hapa Murang'a. So kupitia kuanzia Monday niliweza kupata masaa zangu, nikaangalia venye hao watu the commissioners walikaa interviewed, na kitu naweza ambia watu wa Kenya ni expectations zetu zikuwe tu chini kiasi. Je, hao watu venye walijibu maswali sioni wakimake change, na considering that those people were in the government ama walikuwa kwa institutions za government. Mtu kama jana ukiangalia the Akumu, huyu mtu alikuwa FKF, aliweza kuulizwa swali kuhusu fraud, yani kuna scandal alikuwa nao, but alikanyagia, hakuongelelea kuhusu hiyo kitu, hiyo mambo na forgery. Alafu bado but kuna wenye walijibu maswali vizuri, tunaona wako na potential.
Asante sana, na kama ulivyosikia ni maoni ya wakazi kutoka kaunti ya Murang'a, na ni taarifa ambayo imeendelea kuibua hisia tofauti kwa wakazi. Letu tu ni kulipa jicho ili tuone yatakayoendelea. Kutoka kaunti ya Murang'a, kwa niaba ya mpiga picha na vilevile kwa niaba ya runinga ya TV47, ni kirudisha usukani. Jina langu ni Robert Gakure.
Naam, asante sana Robert Gakure, moja kwa moja kutoka kaunti ya Murang'a, mtazamaji, na ndio taarifa mjini. Usaili wa kusaka wale ambao watajaza nafasi 6 za makamishna wa tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka hapa nchini Kenya Iebc hapo baadaye mwendo wa saa 8, mtazamaji, mbele ya jopo la mchujo. Tutakuwa naye Alfred Indimuli Kahi, na bila shaka mahojiano hayo au usaili huu tutakuletea kwa njia mbashara kutoka chuo hicho cha South Sea. Mbali na hayo, sasa mtazamaji, tuangazie taarifa nyingine. Wanaharakati na familia ya Gala Aden wameandamana katika mji wa Wajir wakidai haki kwa marehemu ambaye anadaiwa aliuawa kikatili na mumewe katika kijiji cha Ademasajida, Wajir Magharibi. Waandamanaji wameonyesha ghadhabu yao kuhusu mauaji hayo ya kinyama na kulaumu vyombo vya usalama, wakidai kuwa mtuhumiwa analindwa ili asiwajibishwe. Mwanahabari wetu Mohamed Saman anatuarifu kutoka kaunti hii ya Wajir.
Mnamo Jumamosi tarehe 22 mwezi huu, Gala Aden aliuawa kikatili na mumewe huko Ademasajida, Wajir Magharibi. Ripoti zinasema kwamba Gala alichomwa ndani ya nyumba yake. Leo familia ya marehemu Gala Aden pamoja na wanaharakati wameandamana wakidai haki kwa mauaji yake. Wanataka hatua za haraka zichukuliwe dhidi ya mtuhumiwa, na wameweza kulaumu vyombo vya usalama kwa kuchelewa kuchukua hatua. Pia wamepinga mfumo wa maslaha, wakisisitiza kuwa haki inapaswa kupatikana kupitia mahakama. Niweza kuzungumza na baadhi ya wanaharakati na familia yake, nao walikuwa na haya ya kusema.
Wajir do assemble here and do the procession in solidarity with our young sister Gala Aden, who was brutally, inhumanely butchered in Wara, thereafter burnt beyond recognition by her husband, who was roughly 55 years old. It's unfortunate that those whom we entrusted to protect her life are yet to take action. Besides that, I do hereby inform the law enforcement officers that any elder who attempts or tries to solve that issue using maslaha, action must be taken against them. They are promoting femicide, they are promoting killings to be people to be butchered like goats, and we won't allow. So we tell Kenya Police Force, the DCI, to take action against any elder who is trying to intimidate or try to bring maslaha in that issue.
Strongest terms possible. The incident of the killing of that innocent girl, Gala Aden, that barbaric act, that brutal killing of that innocent girl. Actually, she is a minor, a child who has been forced into marriage by her parents and then later killed brutally by the alleged husband together with his brothers. We really, really condemn that act, and we appeal for justice for that innocent girl. As we are hearing, the man has been arrested, but that is just rumors. This is Wajir County headquarters. This is where our law court is situated. The law court is located in Wajir County, and we have not seen that man arrested, and we have not, seen him in Wajir police station in the custody, and the man has not yet been arraigned in the before the law courts. So we need the security apparatus. We need the security apparatus to arrest that man, arraign him before the law courts, and get justice for the innocent girl.
Today has been a very sad day for Wajir because a young girl has on Saturday been butchered. She was forced into marriage against her will, and when she declined that marriage, she was killed to submission. They wanted to force her to submission, and ultimately she ended up being killed. So we are saying, as the people of Wajir County, as the human rights defenders, we are saying we must get justice for Gala. We are aware that the Department of Criminal Investigation who are engaged, those for Wajir West, are not doing justice for that girl. There is no investigation that is going on into this incident. That is what we have confirmed. They have been collecting flimsy and fake statements from people who are guided and ending up so that the case does not go into anywhere. So we are saying that we need the Director of Criminal Investigation to send a special team to go and investigate this matter and bring those people who are perpetrators of this heinous act into justice.
Haina sura yote kwa maisha ya binadamu. Kifo ambaye msichana mdogo wa miaka 17 aliuawa na bwana yake badala ya kupatia raha huyo msichana, ni kitu ambayo inahuzunisha sana. Gala ambaye aliuawa huyo msichana alitolewa kutoka mahali inaitwa Koti huko na akaletwa. Kabla kuletwa, Gala alisema kwamba mimi sitaolewa na huyu. Alieleza mama, kuna record aliweka, mimi sitaolewa. Baada forceful marriage kufanywa, Gala akaletwa area Habasoi na mahali inaitwa Wara. Gala ajili hiyo uchungu alilipa pesa mingi kwa mama ile kuchupata hiyo msichana. Bwana yake na madugu yake walichukua Gala, wakasema kwamba tutakuwa. Gala alireport kwa mama yake, kwa wale wanasikia kwa simu yake WhatsApp, tukua sisi yote ilikuwa circulated, tunaona. Gala after 2 hours kueleza hiyo shida yote, simu unachukuliwa mama, mimi nitaua mama. Mama anasema enda kana bwana yako, wacha upusi. Mwanaume ni ile tumezaa naye, wacha upusi. Aliuawa baada ya masaa 3 na simu yake ikafichwa. Alichinjwa, nyumba ikachomewa. Na Gala na hiyo nyumba vitu yake mwenyewe amechukua. Aliwacha Gala na mattress moja ambaye alifunika naye kuchoma, kuweka mafuta na kuchoma yeye. Je, huyu mtu ambaye alifanya hivyo ingali ako within, ako area na hakuna action yote imefanyika, na ofisi ya DCI inaongoja kitu naitwa maslaha kugawanyana pesa hapo kwa kifo ya binadamu. Sisi kama civil society Wajir, we are not agreeing, hata dakika moja hatutakubali haki ya Gala ipotee.
Na bila shaka mtazamaji, tunatumai kwamba mwanamke huyo Gala Aden Abdi atapata haki. Mbali na hayo mtazamaji, kiongozi wa chama cha Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka ameitaka serikali kurejesha maafisa wa polisi wanaodumisha amani nchini Haiti. Akizungumza katika mazishi kaunti ya Machakos, Kalonzo amesema maafa ya polisi wawili kutokana na mashambulizi ya majambazi ni ishara tosha. Kenya inafaa kuondoa maafisa wake na kujiondoa kwenye mkataba wake na Marekani. Naye gavana wa Machakos Wavinya Ndeti akimpigia debe Kalonzo kwa kutoyumbayumba kama kiongozi wa upinzani. Naibu gavana wa kaunti hiyo Francis Mwangangi kwa upande wake katika hafla hiyo ameisuta serikali kuu kwa kunyima kaunti fedha, akisema ni njama ya kuua ugatuzi.
We have received reports that another Kenyan police officer has been killed in Haiti. This is death. We are here talking about death, and our young men are dying 10,000 kilometers away, not in accordance with the resolution of the United Nations Security Council, whose responsibility it is to ensure international peace and security, but a bilateral arrangement between Kenya and the United States of America. Since President Biden handed over to President Trump, the United States of America have withdrawn the support to this Kenyan mission, therefore leaving our soldiers exposed, not soldiers, policemen, because these are policemen.
Kwingineko mtazamaji, baadhi ya viongozi wa vijana wa chama cha National Liberal Party wamewahimiza vijana kujitokeza na kujisajili kama wapiga kura kabla ya uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027. Wakizungumza jijini Nairobi, vijana hao wamedai kuwa wameanza rasmi kampeni ya kumpigia debe mshika bendera wao Augustus Muli katika uchaguzi mkuu huo wa mwaka 2027. Aidha, vijana hao wametoa wito kwa atakayechaguliwa kwa mwenyekiti wa tume ya uchaguzi kuhakikisha uchaguzi umefanyika kwa amani.
We are doing a mass campaign on voters registration for them to be able to vote come 2027. We are also doing a mass drive for recruitment of youths to our party, and what we need from the government right now is their full support. They allow us to register as voters because we want to elect one of our own leaders who will truly listen to us, will get the representation that the youths are supposed to get in government, and will have a voice that empowers us as the youths of this nation.
We as youth, we should register as members of National Liberal Party for us to elect a leader come 2027 who will represent the youths fully and will listen to us, will listen to our demands as youths.
Na utafiti uliofanywa na shirika la Timely Kenya umebaini kuwa magavana wanaohudumu kwa mara ya kwanza ndio wamekuwa wakifanya kazi bora kuliko wanaohudumu katika mihula yao ya pili. Utafiti huo imemworodhesha gavana wa kaunti ya Murang'a Irungu Kang'ata kuwa gavana bora, akifuatwa na Simba Arati wa kaunti ya Kisii, huku Fatma Achani wa kaunti ya Kwale akichukua nafasi ya 3.
And according to our cumulative data analysis for the 2.5 years, based on the 4 parameters, we have the top 10 best performing governors, with Dr. Francis Irungu Kang'ata of Murang'a County leading with 83%, followed by Paul Simba Arati of Kisii County with 78%, Fatma Achani of Kwale County 77.4%, Ahmed Abdullahi of Wajir County 75%, Wesley Rotich, Elgeyo Marakwet 74.8%, Wavinya Ndeti, Machakos County with 74%, Olen Tutu of Narok County 67%, Kimani Wamatangi, Kiambu County 63%, George Natembeya of Trans Nzoia 61.9%, and Lati Lelelit of Samburu County with 55.8%.
Na kufikia hapo mtazamaji, tukimbie madukani, lakini usiondoke hapo ulipo, maana tutakuwa tukirejea na taarifa zaidi za TV47 Matukio.
The red tape, the hardball, the shame, the glory, the secrets, the covert, the overt, the good, the bad, the ugly, the wins, the losses, the squabbles, the treaties, the twists, the turns, the tenders, the contracts, the game, the drama, the spats, the dossiers, the scandals, the naked truth, even their clandestine meetings. Everything you ever wanted to know, now you'll know with a new boldly reimagined and revamped Star. Grab a copy of the Star because smart people read the Star.
Radio 47 inavuma ndani na nje ya nchi. Tumekubalika hadi kimataifa kwa ushirikiano na Deutsche Welle nchini Ujerumani. Tunakupa matangazo ya aina yake, kuanzia habari, makala na matangazo ya soka. Radio 47 na Deutsche Welle, idhaa ya Kiswahili nchini Ujerumani. Hili ni bonge la ushirikiano. Radio 47, tunavuma na bado hapa ndipo.
Karibu tena mtazamaji, unazidi kupokea taarifa za TV47 matukio. Katibu mkuu katika Wizara ya Afya Mary Muthoni sasa amewaahidi wakazi wa kaskazini mashariki, hasa kaunti ya Wajir inayokumbwa na mlipuko wa ugonjwa wa kalaza, kuwa serikali imeingilia kati ili kukabili ugonjwa huo. Akizungumza wakati wa kuzindua maabara tambe zinazotarajiwa kusaidia katika kukabiliana na msambao huo, Muthoni amesema takwimu za hivi karibuni zinaorodhesha vifo vipatavyo 25 kutokana na ugonjwa huu wa kalaza, huku visa vya maambukizi vikiwa zaidi ya 600, wanaoathirika zaidi wakiwa ni watoto. Aidha, amesema kuwa serikali imetenga bajeti ili kukabiliana na ugonjwa huu kutokana na hitaji kubwa ya vituo vya matibabu katika kaunti hii.
The State Department for Public Health and Professional Standards, we have launched an emergency response to contain the deadly outbreak of kalaza in the country. We have been seeing these stories in the media, and I think it is the high time that ministry that came out and say what exactly we are doing and collaborating with the county government. Kalaza is a parasitic disease that is caused by the Leishmania parasite, and kalaza is a serious neglected tropical disease transmitted by sandfly bites, and primarily affects the northeastern Rift Valley and eastern regions. The Leishmania parasite causes the kalaza, and if left untreated, it is very fatal in over 95% of the cases. The symptoms of kalaza include weight loss, prolonged fever, diarrhea, and digestive tract problems, fatigue, anemia, darkening of the skin, swollen lymph nodes, and enlarged spleen and liver. Over the past 3 months, the disease has claimed lives of 25 individuals, with more than 600 people reported to be infected. The outbreak has spread across 4 sub-counties in Wajir and Marsabit counties. As of now, 106 patients have been hospitalized in Wajir County, overwhelming local health services, and health officials are facing challenges in managing the situation, which began in September and last year, prompting the county requesting for support from the national government. Medical personnel have confirmed 617 cases so far, with most patients recovering after treatment. Some of the containment measures, according to the health workers, include expanding hospital capacity by setting up a new ward for incoming patients, procuring emergency medical supplies, and mass fumigation in affected areas. Health officials are also warning that the situation could worsen if residents fail to report symptoms early. It is endemic in 80 countries around the world. In 2022, Eastern Africa accounted for 73% of global VL cases, half of which occurred in children aged under 15 years.
Na kutoka Wajia mtazamaji, sasa tuelekee hadi kaunti ya Machakos. Waziri wa maji Eric Muga Nwirathi na naibu mkuu wa utendakazi katika ofisi ya Rais Eliud Owalo wamewaahidi wakazi wa Machakos kwamba serikali iko mbioni kutamatisha miradi iliyokwama katika kaunti hiyo. Wakizungumza wakati wa ziara yao katika kaunti hii ya Machakos, Owalo na Muga wamenyoshia kidole cha lawama serikali iliyopita kwa kuwatelekeza Nwirathi kimaendeleo, maeneo ambayo viongozi wake walikuwa katika upinzani, wakisema kuwa wameanza zoezi la ukaguzi wa miradi iliyokwama ili kuifanikisha.
I want to assure Kenyans that all our development programs are well on track. We recently undertook a mid-term review of the implementation status of all national government development programs and projects, and I can assure Kenyans that we are on track. We have taken note of the milestones that we have realized in terms of the status of implementation of those projects. We have also taken note of the challenges that we have faced so far and the performance gaps where there are gaps and what we need to close those gaps moving forward. And moving forward, we are also zeroing in on the specific projects and programs that we need to zero in on by way of prioritization for the remainder of the current term of the 5th administration.
It is key for the socio-economic status of the people to actually be improved, because any other business we do, water is involved. One of the pillars of the government under His Excellency the President, Dr. Samoei William Ruto, is to actually dignify the livelihoods of our people. That cannot happen if we don't provide them a proper, clean and safe water, and also adequate levels of sanitation. Sanitation has suffered in the past because initially the designs were being done for water and not so much attention was being given or accorded to the sewerage system.
Na mtazamaji, na samahani kwa hilo, tamko sahihi la waziri wa maji ni Eric Muga. Tuendeleze taarifa zetu. Viongozi wa chama cha muungano wa walimu NAT eneo la Bonde la Ufa wameomba serikali kuhakikisha mgao wa fedha umefika kwenye shule, wakisema hali imekuwa ngumu kwa walimu wakuu. Akizungumza katika kaunti ya Bomet, naibu katibu wa NAT katika Bonde la Ufa Alfred Rop amesema kwamba kucheleweshwa kwa mgao wa fedha shuleni kumezorotesha baadhi ya shughuli. Aidha, wameomba serikali kufanya mikakati ili kuhakikisha shule zinapata pesa kwa wakati ufao.
It is very unfortunate that people have had to travel from across Rift Valley, Turkana, Transmara, across Rift Valley, Narok, Samburu, and they are all coming this way at a time when the government of Kenya have not released capitation to schools. It is very unfortunate, and we want to ask the government of Kenya to immediately release the capitation. It has been a problem targeted to the administrators because they have to make sure that the participants travel all the way to participate in a given area like this Bomet. So we ask the government to make sure that capitation is given to school.
Kwingineko mtazamaji, wazazi, walimu na wanafunzi katika shule ya msingi ya Mumoni Mwingi kaunti ya Kitui wameachwa katika hali mbaya baada ya upepo mkali ulioandamana na mvua nyingi kung'oa paa za madarasa zaidi ya 6 na ofisi za walimu katika shule hiyo. Wakizungumza baada ya mkasa huo, wazazi wameelezea wasiwasi kwani hawajui ambapo wana wao watasomea na kufanya mitihani muhula huu wa kwanza unapotamatika. Aidha, mwalimu mkuu wa shule hiyo ameitaka Wizara ya Elimu sawia na viongozi katika eneo hilo kuingilia kati na kuwasaidia katika ujenzi wa paa hizo zilizoharibiwa.
tumepata hasara kubwa. Ni tunauliza tu wakubwa wetu, kwa sababu tuko na wakubwa, tuko na MCA, tuko na MP, tuko na governor na tuko na wengine wengi wale ambao wanaweza kutusaidia, kwa sababu hawa wazazi hawana uwezo na mtihani inaendelea, masomo inaendelea. Sasa tunauliza tu vile tunaweza kupata usaidizi tuweze kujenga madarasa tena, watoto waweze kusoma vizuri. Tuko na idadi ya watoto 210 wanafunzi. Kwa hivyo nashukuru wale tu watasikia, ataona huruma, waweze kutusaidia tuweze kurudisha madarasa pamoja na ofisi tuweze kuendelea na kusoma. Nashukuru.
Na tunaendelea tu kutafuta pesa ya watoto wa kule nyumbani. Sasa tukianza kujenga tutafanya nini sasa? Sasa tunauliza hata nyinyi tu mnaweza tu kutupatia misaada tusaidike ili tujenge shule yetu ili tuweze kuendelea. Sasa hatunjui tufanye nini, watoto wafanye mitihani kuanza kesho kwa sababu kumua kwa karibu.
Wazazi wangu hawawezi. Na saa hizi ni wakati wa mitihani. Hata sijui watoto wangu au watoto wanafanyia mitihani wapi. Kwa hivyo nauliza tu kwa wale ambao wako na roho safi ambao wanaweza kutusaidia, wakisikia hii watusaidie.
Na kutoka Kitui sasa tuelekee hadi kaunti ya Bungoma ambapo gavana wa kaunti hii Kenneth Lusaka amehutubia bunge la kaunti hiyo na kuelezea yale serikali yake imetekeleza tangu ilipochukua hatamu ya uongozi mwaka 2022. Kwenye hotuba yake, gavana Lusaka anasema sekta ya kilimo ilipatiwa kipaumbele, serikali yake ikilenga kuboresha sekta hiyo kwa lengo la usalama wa chakula na mifugo. Lusaka hata hivyo anasema serikali yake iko imara kukarabati barabara mbalimbali ili kuboresha sekta ya uchukuzi katika sehemu mbalimbali za kaunti ya Bungoma.
Additionally, the department plans to reduce poverty and contribute to economic growth by establishing community-based animal health workers, providing veterinary drugs and vaccines, constructing livestock markets, and developing value chains for livestock products such as maize, meat, honey, eggs, hides through the Kenya Livestock Commercialization Project. To enhance crop productivity in the country, we purchased certified fertilizer, maize seed for 21,900 farmers in the 45 wards through the Farm Input Support Program. We procured and distributed avocado and coffee seedlings. Our county continues to stand out for exemplary program implementation, and in December 2024, we were awarded a special recognition for the best managed NAF-CDP in the whole country. Our approach to people-centered service delivery was recognized as a panel examining the sensitization of stakeholders, the presence of community-driven development committees, the identification of farmer producer organizations, the training of community institutions, and the support of SACCOs. To realize the dream of universal health coverage and bring health services closer to the people, the county has embarked on various interventions aimed at one, promoting to enhance our road network and improve mobility. We have prioritized the development, expansion, and modernization and maintenance of sustainable transport infrastructure, facilitating the efficient movement of people and goods. Under our road maintenance and upgrades initiative, we opened and graded 953 kilometers out of the target 1,100 kilometer of roads, constructed 6 bridges and 40 box culverts across all 45 wards, and upgraded 11.5 kilometers of urban roads to bitumen standards in Bungoma town.
Kwingineko mtazamaji, Wizara ya Kilimo na Mifugo humu nchini iko mbioni kuafikia mpango wake wa kupanda miti milioni 100 kama njia mojawapo ya kupiga jeki mchakato wa kitaifa wa kupanda miti bilioni 15 ifikapo mwaka 2032. Waziri wa mazingira katika kaunti ya Makueni, Japhet Bang'oka, anapigia upatu kuzidi kujumuishwa kwa jamii husika katika mpango huu.
Tunatarajia kupanda
miche zaidi ya 10,000. Na hiyo ni kazi ya kuanzia, na tutakuwa tunaendelea na upanzi wa hiyo miti na miche, na tuko na target ya jumla katika mwaka huu ya kupanda miche katika area nyingine zote, na tukiongeza na hii zaidi ya milioni 100 katika wizara yetu ya kilimo na mifugo. Area hii hatuna shida sana ya miche zile ambao tumepanda kukua na kunawiri na kustawi. Kwa hivyo over 90% zinafanya vizuri, na ile 10% ambao wakati mwingine imekauka kwa sababu moja ama nyingine huwa tuna replace.
Naendelea kuambia wananchi wa form zile community forest associations ambazo zitasaidia kuhifadhi maeneo kama haya. Those associations, we are training them. We are also training them mambo ya economic value ya ile miti ambao tunapanda.
Itafanya vizuri kama tuko na acacia trees, kama tuko na mango trees. Pia kuna other values, tutaendelea kushirikiana na department ya lands kuona kwamba miti imeleta faida, sio tu mti lakini imeleta faida kwetu. Kwa hivyo wakulima, tunapopanda mahindi tuende hapo kwa bush tuangalie tutapanda nini.
Tuko na a lot of carbon which needs to be sunk by the trees, na mojawapo ya njia tu yenye kurahisi ya kutoa carbon hewani si eti kutoa mashini ziweze kuchukua ile carbon, bali ni wananchi washirikiane pamoja, wapatane pamoja, idara zote za kiserikali, za wananchi, mashirika yasiyo ya kiserikali, na tuweze kupanda miti kwa wingi, sana sana kwa wetlands na zile forests zetu zenye zimekuwa degraded.
Kwingineko, mtazamaji, washikadau wa madini nchini wamempongeza Rais William Ruto kwa uteuzi wa Katibu Harry Kimtai katika Wizara ya Madini na Uchumi wa Baharini. Wakizungumza na runinga ya TV47 katika kaunti ya Taita Taveta wakati wa mkutano wa wanachama wa Kenya Chamber of Mines wakiongozwa na Kanyoro Patrick na Frank Riga ambaye ni mwenyekiti wa kitaifa na wapwani mtawalia, wamesema wanaimani katibu huyo mpya kwa wizara hiyo Harry Kimtai ataweza kutatua changamoto zinazowakumba wachimbaji wa madini nchini, hasa uchimbaji wa madini kama vile civil rights.
As stakeholders and speaking from Taita Taveta, we are grateful to His Excellency the President for now giving us a new Principal Secretary, and we are committing to work with PS Harry Kimtai, and we will be meeting him at the earliest possible so that then we can engage on how to make to transform this sector, because this is a sector that does not only have the capacity to create many jobs, but also has the capacity to generate revenue for government and in fact make a positive contribution on matters public debt. We also are very keen on this issue of sovereignty. That is an issue we cannot comment on authoritatively because the matter is before court.
Also, I would like to touch about how the miners, they are really having sleepless nights because of the issue of savarite being classified as strategic mineral. This it has made miners, they are not sleeping because once this savarite, it is largely mined by artisanal miners. So our focus should be mainly feature on the branding of the stone to the international market so that we can get to the maximum market for this stone.
Na mtazamaji, sasa tukinyambua nyayo hadi viwanjani, mlinda lango wa klabu ya Kakamega Homeboys Patrick Matasi hatoshiriki katika mechi au mashindano yoyote ya shirikisho la soka nchini FKF kwa miezi mitatu ijayo. Hii ni kulingana na taarifa iliyotolewa na FKF jana usiku. Kipa huyu wa timu ya taifa ya Harambee Stars anafanya uchunguzi kuhusiana na madai ya kuathiri michuano. Uchunguzi huu unafanywa na shirikisho la soka duniani FIFA, shirikisho la soka barani Afrika CAF na shirikisho la FKF na pia idara nyinginezo. Mapema jana video ilisambaa mitandaoni ikionyesha mazungumzo baina ya watu wawili wakizungumza kuhusu kupanga matokeo ya mechi.
Mpata sisi kwamba tumepata evidence, Federation imetuandikia ituambie kwamba mchezaji huyu ambaye anaitwa Patrick Matasi haruhusiwi kwa wakati wowote kuparticipate katika ligi ya Kenya. Hapo tutachukua jukumu tuseme Federation imekataa. Lakini unaona kama Federation imesema vizuri na imepeana email address yao kwamba yoyote ule ana ushahidi ya kutosha awaletee, wachukue hatua. So mimi kama hapa Kenya nimesema, na bado narudia, match fixing hapa Kenya iko kubwa sana, na teams zina fix games. Sio itakuwa ya kwanza kwa hiyo matasi huko. Timu mingi zina fix game. Na mimi siwezi kukubali kwamba nikubali timu kama mimi nimetoa pesa imeenda kuhakikisha nimepeleka wachezaji camp, wachezaji wakitoka huko wakuja wamefix game. Inaumiza sana na inaumiza sana. Na to make the matter worse, mimi niko na sponsor ambaye anaitwa Mozart Bet. Hakuna vile nitakubalia kitu kama ikuwe katika zile ile agreement yetu na Mozart Bet ni ku make sure game iko fair, sio mambo ya kufix game.
Nayo timu ya